Hello, thanks for being in a new video. This time we have the unboxing of the Motorola Moto G35 5G. This device is one of Motorola's cheapest devices at the moment. In fact, Motorola's strategy for the low end is not very clear, as sometimes it uses the E series and other times it uses the G series in small numbers. Although in this case the 35 would give us to understand that it is a slightly more expensive device than it really is. We found two versions. This one I have in my hands is the 4,999 pesos version with 256 gigabytes of storage, however. There is a cheaper edition with 128 gigabytes of storage, which in fact with discount is less than 3,000 Mexican pesos, which I find very remarkable. On the screen you saw the reference price in dollars, just to give you an idea, although remember that prices here are not the same as over there. So let's take this device out of the box and get to know it. And as usual in Motorola, to save space the case comes factory fitted, and it is appreciated that they include a case. Although in this model the truth is that without the case it looks spectacular. Getting much closer to the Edge family that has a synthetic leather cover. In this case we also find synthetic leather, although it's much simpler. It doesn't feel as premium as the Edge family, but it's still very good. In fact it also has vibrant colors, as we are used to from Motorola. So personally, I would use this device without a case. Because with a case, it adds a lot of reflections and even distorts the color a bit. But I fully understand that to give it protection, you might prefer to use it this way. Let's turn the device on while we see what else is included here in the box. And as you can see, it comes with the usual paperwork, quick guide, simple information, the tool to remove the SIM card tray, and we also find a cable and charger. In this case, the charger is 20 watts, as you can see, and the cable is from USB-A to USB-C, evidently being an entry-level device. We still don't find something as attractive in this sense as we could find in much more expensive devices of this brand. At least it is appreciated that they do include charger, cable and case, things that for example Samsung doesn't include from the entry range, so Motorola still keeps these items. So, now that we've seen all the stuff in the box, let's focus on the phone to tell you about its specs. I've already got the device set up in my hand, so how about we take a quick look at it. It is 7.8 millimeters thick and weighs 188 grams. Although in this leatherette covered edition, it weighs 192 grams approximately. It offers IP52 level splash resistance, which is basic resistance, but it is appreciated that in budget devices, we see at least something like this to be a little safer to use it, for example. Next to a glass of water. The screen is 6-7 inches diagonally, has LCD technology with 120 Hz refresh rate. In addition, the resolution is Full HD Plus and it is protected by Gorilla Glass 3. The truth is that we are looking at a good screen. Although personally I would have preferred AMOLED technology even if they lowered the refresh rate. But in this case Motorola gave priority to the refresh rate so that it is 120 Hz. That is to say, movements appear quite fluid and smooth, but believe me, it's not a screen that has as much contrast or looks as spectacular as other screens that are usually found on the market. Motorola is integrating throughout its family, so this one is immediately noticeable as a device that is still a bit lower. That's why I say the 35 number is a bit confusing in a way. Surprisingly though, it does integrate stereo sound. A speaker on the bottom and another speaker in the earpiece area for calls with the Dolby Atmos legend. In this price range, it is usual to see mono sound, so in this respect Motorola is very surprising indeed. In fact, the screen is also good compared to its competitors who generally offer simpler screens. The front camera is a 16 megapixel camera with f2.4 aperture and fixed focus. While in preview it doesn't look that spectacular, after processing I think it does a good job. Although the processed pictures are 4 megapixels automatically, so they don't have as much detail, but in the settings you can enable if you want them to have more resolution though. However, the performance in difficult lighting situations could have suffered. With regard to the cameras on the back, the truth is that Motorola surprises. We find the main 50 megapixel camera with f1.8 aperture and autofocus. It doesn't have optical stabilization, so in this case it's not so surprising. But it is the supplementary camera that surprises. Generally in the price range, most manufacturers are going to give you add-on cameras for decoration, just so it's a little bit more modern looking, but Motorola does give you a functional camera. It's an 8 megapixel ultra-wide with f2.2 aperture, albeit fixed focus, Here you are looking at the result, for example, with the ultra-wide camera. It does indeed capture color well. It gives you a fairly wide shot, although it does have more chromatic aberration than we would like. But you have to remember that we are talking about a low-cost device, which in fact stands out for incorporating this kind of camera. At this price, it's very unusual. Now you are looking at the result with the main camera. Again, we see good quality and a little bit more sharpness than expected, but it delivers. If we try to zoom in a little bit, still at 2x, I think it retains a good quality and a good level of detail. And the maximum zoom is 6x, which I think is quite honest. Other devices might tell you that they have 10x zoom or something like that, and the image looks tremendously damaged. Motorola, thankfully, as I say, keeps an honest zoom. I generally like what Motorola is doing lately, and this device is no exception. And for video recording, on the front camera we find Full HD at 30 frames per second, and on the rear camera we will find an option to record video in 4K, something that surprises too much in this price range. It is the most attractive thing we are going to find, although the ultra-wide camera is not able to record in this resolution. But it was expected. Overall, it's very nice that the main camera does have these capabilities. The battery has a capacity of 5000 milliamps and supports 18 watt charging, with a 20% watt charger included in the box. Obviously, we're not going to find wireless charging or any of that more advanced stuff, but I don't think it disappoints, especially as it's a device that isn't thick and heavy. Another plus point is that it comes with Android 14 out of the box and also includes Motorola's new suite of options like Moto Secure, which gives you new features like the secure folder or a slightly more advanced lock that we haven't previously seen on Motorola devices. And as I was saying, it comes with 256 gigabytes of storage just turned on without configuring anything. It told me 13 gigabytes used. This is impressive because there are other devices that have a lot of storage used. But here you have good free space, so it will be aimed at users who require few applications open at the same time. Also, the processor is a Unisoc T760. Possibly that's what might scare off a number of people who have tested or heard about Unisoc processors, but I want you to see the benchmarks here on Geekbench. In single core it gave us 743 points and in multi-core 2218 points. These Unisoc processors started out being very simple, but the 700 and 800 series I think have achieved a pretty good performance, that is to say, with these scores would give us a performance even superior to the Snapdragon 695 or the Helio G99 from MediaTek, which are processors that I think become quite well known, so you should not be too afraid of this processor. In fact, if we combine this processor with 6 gigabytes of RAM, I think the performance would be much better. In this case, we'll have to see in the video review if the 4 gigabytes of RAM come to affect the performance of the device. But for now, it feels good, but at times if you get to, feel a little clumsy, especially when you're starting everything. But as I say that, I see it more focused by the limitations of RAM. In Antutu got 4,98,976 points. The truth that for the price range seems to me one of the best devices. I hope you liked this video and remember that soon we will have the full review available so you can know more in depth. See you next time.